Ted Tack Tanouye was born in Torrance, California on the 14th of November, 1919, the eldest of 6 children in a Japanese-American family. He graduated from Torrance High School in 1938. His family was no doubt proud of him, as he excelled in both academics and athletics, and lettered in both baseball and football each of his years in high school. Tack made the honor roll and was a member of the varsity club, Future Farmers of America, the Japanese Club, and Key Club. He was also elected president of his sophomore class, an all-American team. Tack was also schooled in Japanese culture, learning the martial art of kendo with his father and brother at the Shibuya Kendo Club. Tanouye was working in a produce department of Ray's Friendly Market, a local Japanese-American-owned grocery store, when Pearl Harbor was attacked on the 7th of December, 1941. The actions by the Japanese immediately placed the Japanese-American community in a state of confusion and concern for what the future would bring. President Franklin D. Roosevelt issued Executive Order 9066, authorizing the incarceration of Japanese Americans in designated internment camps. In the middle of the night, the Tanouye family store was kicked down by soldiers, and Tanouye's parents and siblings were interned in the Jerome War Relocation Center near Jerome, Arkansas. It was suspected that Tanouye's father was a spy for the Japanese. In the eyes of the Japanese Americans, this caused the family to be stripped of their honor. On February 19, 1942, after the Jerome camp was closed on the 30th of June 1944, the Tanouye family was transferred to the Rower War Relocation Center near Rower, Arkansas. Ted Tanouye, however, was never incarcerated, having enlisted in the U.S. Army on February 20th, 1942. Japanese in the Hawaii Territorial Guard, HTG, which was mainly ROTC students from the University of Hawaii, were dismissed. After the dismissal, the students that were with the HTG decided that they still wanted to play a role during the war and petitioned the military governor to volunteer as their labor battalion. The petition reads, "We, the other side, were members of the Hawaii Territorial Guard until its recent inactivation. We joined the Guard voluntarily with the hope that this was one way to serve our country in her time of need. Needless to say, we were deeply disappointed when we were told that our services in the Guard were no longer needed. Hawaii is our home, the United States, our country. We know but one loyalty, and that is to Stars and Stripes. We wish to do our part as loyal Americans in every way possible, and we hereby offer ourselves to whatever service you may see fit to use us." In February 1942, the 169 students got their wish and became a labor battalion that came to be known as the Varsity Victor Volunteers, and they performed small labor jobs. When Ted was first transferred to Camp Shelby, he served as mess sergeant for K Company. Then, seeing that the position of the 2nd Platoon Technical Sergeant was open, Tanouye volunteered himself, wanting to assume a more active role in the infantry. He joined the ranks of the 442nd, a unit composed almost entirely of Japanese-American soldiers, in 1943, and shipped out for Europe in 1944. The 442nd was sent to western Italy to aid the Allies' advance up the northern Italian coast. The 100th Battalion was moving north in Italy. They were assigned to take the Monte Cassino Monastery. The Germans had cleared out the forest and redirected water to flood the surrounding valley, protecting the only approach to Castle Hill, the site of the castle guarding the road to the monastery. Having suffered heavy casualties after multiple assaults, which stalled at the walls of the castle, the High Command determined the German defenses to be too strong and ordered the bombing of Monte Cassino Monastery. As a result, the 100th Battalion was nicknamed the Purple Heart Battalion and held on to the motto, "Remember Pearl Harbor." Soon after, the 100th began to receive its first replacements from the 442nd RTC. The 100th Battalion became the first battalion of the 442nd RTC and kept their name, the 100th, in the honor of the military record. The 442nd landed at Anzio on the 28th of May and joined the 100th Battalion at Civitavecchia, north of Rome, on June 11, 1944. On July 7, 1944, his third day on the front line, Technical Sergeant Tanouye displayed that go-for-broke mentality. He led his platoon in an attack to gain control of a strategically important hill that allowed very little cover. This site was known as Hill 140, a strong line of German resistance. The enemy held the hill and had already wiped out machine gun squads of L Company of the 3rd Battalion and G Company of the 2nd Battalion. In a dawn attack, Technical Sergeant Tanouye, leading an advance attack on Hill 140, noticed an enemy machine gun crew to his left. The area allowed for little cover. He noticed the enemy setting up machine guns to fire on his troops. He crept forward a few yards and opened fire on them, killing or wounding 3 men and leading 2 others to try and disperse. From somewhere, an enemy machine gun opened fire at him. He fired back and killed or wounded 3 more enemy soldiers. Reorganizing his platoon, he was still intent on moving forward. He charged through heavy fire and grenade bursts. In the process, destroyed many enemy machine gunners and machine gun nests. Tanouye was wounded on his left arm, but turned down medical aid. He did not give up here. Tanouye caught sight of an enemy-held trench and fired his submachine gun at it, wounding more enemy soldiers. Out of ammunition, he crawled 20 yards to get more clips from a fellow soldier. At that point, he saw an enemy machine pistol that had pinned down some of his men, so he crawled further forward and threw a hand grenade in that direction. The enemy ceased fire. Then he took note of another machine gun nest located above him, so he once again opened fire, and once again silenced the nest. Tanouye next organized a defensive position on the reverse slope of the hill. His left arm was seriously injured, but he made his mark on Hill 140. Hill 140 became known as Little Casino due to the strong resistance from the Germans. By 1800 hours on this day, the Germans started their retreat. Technical Sergeant Tanouye was sent for medical care, but would soon return to join his men as the 442nd advanced against the Germans. They faced heavy resistance as they fought on towards the Honor River. The letter reads, August 27th. Hiya, folks. Received your most interesting letter today. Good to hear from you all. As for me, I've been in the best of health. At present, I'm at the front line again, dodging attacking fire and bullets, just sweating our head off. Glad to hear that Kiki, Harm, and Sue are doing okay in Chicago. How is everyone out there? In good health, I presume. Don't worry about me. I'm okay yet. Only miss Akira now. Hey, did you receive my Purple Heart medal yet? Also, I sent a couple packages of souvenirs too. Let me know when you receive them too. Well, besides that, there isn't much else to write about. The same old stuff out here in Italy. I'd like to hear more about the things going on there. So, keep up the good writing. Good to receive letters from someone back home, especially as I'm here sitting in a foxhole. Really, gets lonesome at times if it weren't for those letters. Read them about a dozen times sometimes. That's all for now, till later. So long, and my best regards, Brother Ted. 2 months later, on the 1st of September, 1944, Sergeant Tanouye, now near the Honor River in Italy, was once again wounded. Staff Sergeant Hideo Lefty Kunoyashi talked about his friend who had a safe job, but volunteered to join them as a frontline soldier, saying, quote, he could have come home safe, end quote. He always credited Ted with saving his life. Their platoon had stopped near the Honor River while a combat engineer was inspecting a landmine with a trigger wire. Ted walked up and knelt next to Lefty's position between him and the engineer. Just as Lefty was commenting how dangerous it was that the engineer was applying too much tension on the line. As he moved to track its end, the mine exploded instantly, killing the engineer and wounding Ted, who received all of the blast while shielding Lefty. Kiyoshi Yoshai recalled that even as he was carried away on a litter, mortally wounded, his spirit was still strong, calling out, "Go for broke! Go for broke!" Technical Sergeant Tanouye died 5 days later, on September 6, 1944. His parents learned of his heroism and death from within the guarded and barbed wire fences of Rower, Arkansas. For his heroic actions, on July 7, 1944, Ted T. Tanouye was posthumously awarded the Army's second highest decoration, the Distinguished Service Cross. His mother was picked up at Camp Roher and taken to a nearby military site to receive the award. The 442nd came to be the most decorated unit for its size and length of service in the history of the American warfare. a 1966 review of service records for Asian Americans who received the Distinguished Service Cross during World War II led to Tanouye's award being upgraded to the Medal of Honor. In a ceremony at the White House on June 21, 2000, his surviving family was presented with his Medal of Honor by President Bill Clinton. 21 other Asian Americans also received a medal during the ceremony, all but 7 of them posthumously. The following excerpt is taken from a letter of condolence from Sergeant Tanouye's commanding officer. Quote, "He was a credit to his race, an excellent soldier, and a loyal American, who was respected and admired by everyone in the company." End quote. Tanouye was buried in Italy. In 1948, his body was exhumed and returned to Los Angeles. A funeral service was held at the Buddhist temple in Little Tokyo, and Tanouye was interred into the Evergreen Cemetery, Los Angeles, California. In addition to receiving the Medal of Honor, Tanouye was also posthumously awarded the Bronze Star, Purple Heart with an oak leaf cluster, European African Middle Eastern Campaign Medal, Combat Infantryman Badge, and World War II Victory Medal. Technical Sergeant Ted Tack Tanouye was honored in 2002 by the Torrance, California, with a permanent display in the Torrance Historical Society Museum. The Torrance, California National Guard Armory was dedicated on May 19, 2002, in Tanouye's honor. On July 7, 2004, a stone bronze memorial of Tanouye was dedicated in Triangle Park, located across the street from Torrance High School, where Tanouye had graduated in 1938 in Torrance, California. In a speech given at the Japanese-American Veterans 2016 Joint Memorial Service at the Japanese National War Memorial Court on May 28th, Robert Horsting, oral historian, gives a deeper insight in the following segment from his Memorial Day message. Quote, "The stories of veterans who served as Technical Sergeant Ted Tanouye in the 442nd K Company have given us a personal insight beyond a citation which documents his actions on Hill 140 in Italy. That would eventually result in the Medal of Honor being presented to his family in the year 2000. Ken Kajiwara remembers Mess Sergeant that befriended a Hawaii boy and even took him along to the War Relocation Authority site, Camp Jerome, where his family was incarcerated by the U.S. government. He told how Ted would bring him to sit with his parents and then duck out to visit someone. It's speculated that this was his love interest." End quote. Technical Sergeant Ted T. Tanouye's official Medal of Honor citation reads, "Technical Sergeant Ted T. Tanouye distinguished himself by extraordinary heroism in action on 7th of July 1944, near Molino Aventabato, Italy. Technical Sergeant Tanouye led his platoon in an attack to capture the crest of a strategically important hill that afforded little cover. Observing an enemy machine gun crew placing its gun position to his left, Technical Sergeant Tanouye crept forward a few yards and opened fire on the position, killing or wounding 3 and causing 2 others to disperse. Immediately, an enemy machine gun pistol opened fire on him. He returned fire and killed or wounded 3 more enemy soldiers. While advancing forward, Technical Sergeant Tanouye was subjected to grenade bursts which severely wounded his left arm. Sighting an enemy-held trench, he raked the position with fire from his submachine gun and wounded several of the enemy. Running out of ammunition, he crawled 20 yards to obtain several crips from his comrade on his left flank. Next, sighting an enemy machine gun pistol that had pinned down his men, Technical Sergeant Tanouye crawled forward a few yards and threw his hand grenade into the position, silencing the pistol. He then located another enemy machine gun firing down the slope of the hill, opened fire on it, and silenced that position. Drawing the fire from the machine pistol nest located above him, he opened fire on it and wounded 3 of its occupants, widely taking his objective. Technical Sergeant Tanouye organized a defensive position on the reverse slope of the hill before accepting first aid treatment and evacuation. Technical Sergeant Tanouye's extraordinary heroism and devotion to duty are in keeping with the highest tradition of military service and reflect great credit on him, his unit, and the United States Army. Thank you for watching.